Hey everybody, it's Bust with Battles with Bust number 246, and today we're going to be doing battle with Elise Kindred Champion Strength. And so, a couple of things before we dive into chit-chatting about the deck. If you're new to the game here from the Xbox Game Pass, welcome. Glad to have you. I wanted to kind of put Elise in the forefront for those of you folks that are here off of the Game Pass, because she is one of the absolutely most powerful things you can be using out of that core set. Elise fits fantastically in a number of aggro decks, mainly paired off with Noxus and using Darius. So if you're looking for an aggro number out of the original set, Elise Darius is quite powerful. But she also finds herself just fitting in a lot of mid-range decks and a lot of control decks because she's so stat-heavy and so strong at generating value. And so the control decks don't have a lot of fantastic early game plays out of Shadow Isles. Elise really fits in that role, given that she's bigger than all of the other 2-drops, or at least, slightly above average or on average stat-wise in terms of the early plays. But then also generating the other little spiderling works quite well in the control decks just as a value engine. And so if you're new to us with the Game Pass, again, welcome. I highly recommend you get your start looking towards Elise. The second thing I wanted to call out for those of you folks new and old is, some of the ways to kind of come across the net decks, if you will. If you're not the best at deck building, you don't really want to travel down that path. I don't blame you. I'm not that great at it either. But some of the tools to kind of do that, it's more commonly and easily seen as to where you go to one of the meta sites like Mastering Runeterra, or you go to Legna's sites at LLOR Stats. But one of the things I wanted to call out that you can do otherwise is just to kind of see what the top players are playing. And so I like to go to the LOR Master site. This is where we came across the deck we'll be playing here today. But you can click on the players at the top of the ladder and see what their most recent deck was. And so a lot of Aatrox Vayne at the top, Aatrox Kayn sitting down there in the second spot. But the thing that I came across with this deck was what Am I was sitting at the number one spot on the NA ladder yesterday. And piloting the deck that we see on the screen, and that's what I wanted to take into battle today. You can also pull this directly out of the game client. It's a little bit more challenging to do, right? If you want to click on this guy here at number one and inspect, it only lets you import the deck. Then you have to import it to your collection and go look at it that way. Just a little bit more awkward, a little bit slower. I think it's a bit easier to see if you go to one of the tracking sites. LOR Master is the one of choice for me, but you can use it at the other ones as well. And so, in terms of the deck itself, again, we are running the circuit. We're doing all of the factions with the champion strength, not completely in order, but, we're going to end up before the next set comes out. I assure you we're going to hit every faction with the champion strength. And so, again, if you aren't up on the nerfs, we caught those a couple of days ago. Champion strength now does cost 9 mana, but it's still probably just the most absolutely powerful spell in the game. And so what you're looking to do with this is just, get a full board. Just get 6 dudes on the board, give them all +4/+4, and then these scout plus rallies should be enough to kind of come in and close out the game. And so as we've kind of touched on this with the other factions, as we look towards the scout decks and all of the summons there with the can't remember their names. The 2-cost and the 4-cost double summon unit, that was great. We touched on some of the elusives in our previous video with Jinx and the Daring Poros. And here, moving into Shadow Isles, you get a little bit of a different flavor, right? Shadow Isles has always been good at summoning multiple units. We get summons out of Elise, we get summons out of Vile Feast, Hapless Aristocrats down here, and then you move into the more common Slayers-style cards like the Wings in the Wave, the Cursed Keeper, the Fading Icon. And so we have, a bunch of ways to summon multiple units on the board, or at least if our unit's going to die, we get a secondary unit out of it. And that also ties quite nicely in to wanting a full board with the champion strength. And so whereas, say, the PNZ Elusives deck we were playing in the previous day is probably just the fastest, right? It has the most high-powered opportunities to just end the game as fast as possible. What do you get out of moving away from that, right? What's the idea? Why would we ever want to play Shadow Isles instead of playing one of those other factions? And I think Kindred is a fantastic answer to that. As we look at the format, we were talking about a lot of the decks that were quite popular as we were clicking through what the top players were playing. Decks like Kayn Aatrox have some serious problems with the likes of Kindred. They don't have a ton of interactivity. It's very common for their only interactivity to be the 3 copies of Kane and then the 3 copies of the Cultist Strike. And if Kindred gets to just sit around on the board and nobody does anything with it, it's going to take over the game and start slaying up your opponent's really high-valued units. And so we do get, a bit of a strong opportunity here to take advantage of some of the more mid-rangey decks in the format by giving ourselves access to Kindred. And so that is, in my opinion, the big reason to look to move into Shadow Isles. We've seen this Slayers theme across the board and all over the place between the Nasus decks, the Kindred decks, the Viego decks, but I think that what we're looking at here today is a champion strength deck that's also looking to take advantage of Kindred. And so the last couple of things I wanted to kind of call out with this list before we dive in, it is the exact copy of What Am I's list out there, and it does look like the exact same one that you see if you click on the recommendation thing, or pretty close. I have not been particularly happy with Atrocity. I have not found myself in these situations to where we had a unit that was reasonable enough to want to throw at our opponent, and it felt like a dead draw pretty much in every single game. And so as we kind of ask ourselves the question, what do we do in these games to where we don't draw champion strength, or we do draw champion strength and our opponent interacts with it kind of well? We need some kind of other choice, some kind of thing to do if that game plan doesn't happen. And so what we're going to be seeing out of this one, the Vanguard Sergeant is an easy way to just take advantage of that full board again, but to kind of cycle back to why I didn't like Atrocity, it just doesn't provide that game-ending hit like I like to see, and that's what I've come in and replaced with the Neverglade Collector. The Neverglade Collector still wants us to be doing the same kind of thing, the same themes, the same deck building idea where we're trying to take advantage of just having a bunch of units on the board, but it does give us a way to kind of close out the game without getting into combat, and it does give us these drain effects in the event that we're playing against a bunch of aggro. And so again, pretty close, but I'm not happy with Atrocity. Am happy with Neverglade Collector, and that's going to do it. That's what we're doing battle with today. And so let's go ahead and head on in. I checked the deck. The pay-to-win price has been paid on this one, and we are good to go. So let's see here. Make sure those speakers are on. The Shadow Isle Strength. Let's jump on into battle. I assure you in our next video, we won't play Champion Strength. How does that sound? Does that sound fair? This is probably what like the dirty Seraphine players felt like in the previous patch. Seraphine comes out and they're like, oh boy, I can't wait to just play a bunch of dumb decks with this stupid card. And that's all they did for like 2 months. And now as the Demacia version comes out, as we're getting to see the power of the cards that I like to play, yeah, we'll just play it all the time in every game, right? Nothing wrong with that. All right, so again, we're up against Aatrox, the Aatrox Vayne version here. This isn't so much an Aatrox deck, right? We talked about Aatrox Kane being fairly mid-rangey and not doing a lot of interactivity. Not the exact case with these Vayne decks. They tend to have some challengers in it, like the Fleet Feather Tracker, a non-zero chance that it's going to be playing something like a Petricite Broadwing. And they do have the opportunities to come in and just take down these Kindreds. But I think our start here was reasonable enough. Otherwise, still happy to hang on to the singular copy of Champion Strength. But I didn't Quietus off the turn 1 Fleet Feather Tracker. I was intending on saving the Quietus for opposing equipment. The bird might be a little bit too much, though. Let's see what happens. Maybe we get a trade onto Little Bird, and then he wants to do something next turn with Valor. Nope. All right, well, maybe we just continue on. If he has a the quick attack equipment, we're really going to suffer if we let it hit the board. And so I think it's probably reasonable to still leave our Quietus in hand. Well, let's see how this goes. So it says if you're not gonna throw down any blockers, I'm just gonna give you the beatdown, my friend. But we have the opportunity for some recovery next turn, right? If we get Kindred down, then Quietus off a small unit, we get to get a bit of a board clear, a little bit of potential there. We probably just have to go for it, though, right? Did you change your mind? You want to hook something? No? I don't blame you. I don't blame you. Alright, so let's see what we can do now. Kindred ready to party. See if opponent has something fun like a Cataclysm really ruin our day. I don't want you ruining my day, Surveyor K. That's not what we're here for. I watched a stand-up comedy last night on the Netflix. It was on the, I believe they just call it the stand-ups, and I was really pleased with the mindset of the guy. He just says the phrase "we're having a good time" quite a bit. He explains himself as saying, you know, I don't want to ask the question and hear what you all have to say. I don't want to ask the crowd the question, are you all having a good time? Because you never know what you're going to get back. You're going to just get a response you potentially don't want to hear. But if you just tell them they're having a good time, then they're just all right. They're having a good time. So I liked the mindset. That's what we're doing here today as well. I'm not going to ask you if you're having a good time. I'm just going to tell you. All right, so we're stuck a little bit here. We're losing our Kindred. We could look to Spirit Journey the Kindred down, but we don't have the time for that kind of nonsense. And so I'm going to let the Kindred fall. We're going to look to come in with the Quietus now that we can and see if we can't recover our board here just a little bit. Dude's got tough. I'm not really worried about tough at the moment. Let's see what happens. Broadwing's more of a target that I'm interested in taking down. So the interesting space we find ourselves in right there is we could have chosen to not play Quietus, and then on this upcoming turn look to actually play the Champion's Strength, but I feel like that's probably a little bit too greedy. There's a very good chance that we just didn't really pick up any units on the board and had a big opportunity for failure there. And so I feel like it's a little bit safer. You know, we had the other Kindred in our hand. It has some opportunities to score some takedowns and the like here, and so I feel like this is okay. Now, the thing I worry about here is I'm not how certain this deck is in playing Sharp Sight. I don't think it has the capability to do it. I think we should get a decent Kindred attack in here and potentially get a either just the damage in or get a takedown on a unit. Let's go ahead and drop a Vile Feast. Well, we shouldn't need to do that. I was going to say, if he open attacks next turn, we can't really block the Elkin, but I don't think I really want to. I'm interested in blocking Aatrox. Alright, so we'll block the big boy. We picked up a Slay card here in the Darkened Halberd, so we're definitely going to have the opportunity to try and get a takedown on one of his units. And then hopefully the Champion's Strength's enough for next turn. But see, these are the kind of boards I'm talking about against these Aatrox decks. I know this isn't exactly the same. Hang on, to play me kill an ally. Let's kill our little thing. Let's equip our Kindred. You know, if he's going to start just playing giant dudes like Aatrox and Ranger Knight Defectors and the like, then we have a pretty good target in terms of what we can hit with the Kindred attacks. All right, Fam Jam, here comes the big boys. Okay. What you got for us? You can't block with the little Dark Enthrall, so we have the potential for some pretty good attacks. I think I'm okay to attack with the Cursed Keeper here. He's going to be able to block it with Aatrox, but we get the follow-up unit that gets to attack on the next round, and so it feels like we're just leaving a lot of damage on the table if we don't come in with the Cursed Keeper here, even though he has the potential for some pretty good blocks. Catch onto Aatrox. Okay. So we fell short of the lethal, but we got to clear out his board. Should be pretty tough for him to end the game next turn if he's going to look to add a unit to the board. There's not a lot that he has room for. Interesting, a fresh champion strength. Could take the rally on the round. I think I'm interested. Let's see what he does. He's got 2 cards in hand we haven't seen. I suspect he's just going to drop a big Darken, which is slightly problematic for us. He's going to World Ender now, right? That's the only reason he would play the Dark Enthrall. So how can this go wrong, right? I think we're safe. The single combat would be a bit problematic, but I think we still kill through that. Right, the downside here is our dudes can't block. And so if he does come up with a way to come in with an attack before we get to, then we don't have any dudes on the board. We could definitely have gone towards a safer route here to where we say just play a Wings in the Wave and a Spirit Leech, block whatever he's doing. But if this Dum becomes the 10-10 Aatrox, then these 1 health units aren't going to be able to block it and help us survive. And so I think this is probably the way to go. Just dropping the champion strength, making our opponent react. And if they have a reaction in a way to stop us from killing them, then they probably at least can't kill us this turn. We can be like LOL Tarash next turn. So I think that's okay. Alright, dude. The world has ended. If you're not familiar with that interaction, if you put the Aatrox equipment onto another unit and then play the World Ender, that unit will transform into Aatrox. Alright, so we got him. And what we've kind of discovered through a lot of Aatrox play in the Path of Champions is if you have Aatrox on board, put the Aatrox equipment on another unit, and then play the World Ender, then you'll get 2 copies of the flipped Aatrox on the board. Pretty cool stuff. All right, GG. Battle number 2, directly upon us. Some Kale Garen. Okay. Curious what this is, if it's more along the line of elites or if it's more along the line of Daybreaks. We'll see. It's another place where Kindred should be pretty decent if it gets to come down and not get interacted with an opponent's trying to play a curve game. So if they're trying to play a 2-drop and then a 3-drop, then a 4-drop, then a 5-drop, you tend to do really well against that style of strategy. Given that they start to play a 6-drop and then you're typically killing off their units for like 2 mana. Where'd you go, Cursed Keeper? The no block squad coming right at you. Okay. So we'll see. He's definitely playing elites, right? He's got the Battlesmith on the board. Not entirely certain what his angle is going to be in terms of combat tricks, but if we can get out of this turn, then we should be able to start building up the board and getting some blockers on board. I don't think this deck usually plays stuff like single combat. I think it's typically just like a really stat-heavy kind of deck, but I don't entirely remember. Alright, Battlesmith down. What's next? What do we got now? Not a lot of great attacks, but a great Kindred on board. And so, the thing that I kind of want to keep in mind and in check with here is I want to hang on to these Glimpse Beyonds because he's going to start coming at us with Garen, right? And so if we can block Garen and drop a Glimpse Beyond, it takes away his ability to strike and tries to keep him from flipping. And so I think that that's one thing that we're going to be looking for here. Currently on this board, Spirit Leech is our only opportunity for a good interactive unit. So I'm just going to drop the Leech and pass. Right, if we attack with it, he's just going to trade anyways. I guess we could look to attack with it and Kindred, but it's a little dangerous. Okay. He does have the interactivity. That's okay though. We got more friends than the upcoming rounds. There's the champion strength. Good stuff.
Shall we, dear wolf?
You got big, didn't you, friend? Garen giving out all the bonuses. I see. I see. It's probably a little bit too much damage. Let's get in the 2 blocks, and then again we can do this Glimpse Beyond. Take the strike away from Garen. This will put a Kindred tick onto something else. Let us go into the next turn. Not going to be able to champion strength next turn, but
They will.
I'm feeling a little bit better with our active Kindred. Is there ever a reason to Wings in the Wave? Probably not. Not on this turn. Ooh, wrong one. There we go. So I think the only thing about this board is I don't really want to get these can't block units down. The Undying is a little bit small at this point anyways. He's going to have a second Concerted Strike, isn't he? Single combat. Alright. No way for us to stop that. So maybe we do look to come in and just get a bunch of dudes on board this turn. His remaining units are pretty small. I mean, you got to do something with all these Ravenous Butchers, right? You can't just sit here and never play them. So, let's see, let's see. Kale doesn't do some kind of weird shit, does he? Right? I have 1 attack for each ally, okay. When I'm summoned, allies get a bonus, okay. Empowered to quick attack, okay. Nothing too frightening. All right, that's a reasonable board, right? Now, the new question we're going to have is, do we want to interact with this Garen, right? And I think I would rather just have the opportunities to cause problems in the middle of combat, or play the Vile Feast after combat. You know, we have to worry a little bit about opponent doing something with this Garen, and so let's just go ahead and send in the squad. Give up on the Spiderling, I don't care, and then see if we can't. See if he just like doesn't put him forth, or what's going to happen.
You are unworthy.
Looks like he is getting old Garen involved. You want to see him play like a sharp sight here. Now you got to make sure you play this Vile Feast in the middle of combat, right? You can't have the Garen flip and have 2 health. Because of the flip, we need to deal the damage in combat, so he's dead before the thing hits. Alright, and so I'm kind of like minorly regretting not leaving a unit back, but I think this is okay. Not big regret, just little regret, you know? It's what life gives you sometimes. Alright, so opponent plays a Ram Hound. We'll go ahead and try and take it down. There's no... He's probably going to have a follow-up unit, but if his follow-up unit is like a 3-3, then we won't have any units we can target with Quietus. We're probably just not going to get to use it for the rest of the game, and so let's go ahead and pop one off while we can.
Guide my sword.
She's not lethal, but... like, all we have to worry about is rallies? I mean, fine. Fine, Kale. They shouldn't have any way to deal direct damage. He's going to have to play a rally, and then if he rallies, we can block after that. Okay. So you're so off the price, Darken Halberd. We're one away. So I think we can go ahead and bring the attack. Well, the problem is the Undying, okay? Like, what you could look to do here is attack, see how things go, try to get him really invested in not dying here, and then just take the rally off of the champion strength. But that was going to leave us in a spot to where he could block the 2 health unit, say like Concerted Strike, another unit, take 3, and then if we champion strength after the fact, he would still have a blocker for that remaining hit. And so I think we needed to do it first there so that we could potentially get a kill onto Kale if he has the removal spell, and then get 2 attacks out of the remaining scout unit. Oof, good stuff though. Good job, Champion Strength, coming out and winning some games. I appreciate it. I like it when you come out and win a game. That's one of the finer things in life, my friend. All right, I'm a little bit more up in the air on when we want to hang on to the champion strength now, right? Because in this game we can't play it until turn 7, but I don't think Seraphine Victor is going to do anything to really prohibit us from getting this going. Right, they don't have a great answer to it. I guess you can play like the Bandle City Signpost now, but I don't really expect that's going to be something coming out of the opponent today. And so as long as things go according to plan, we're able to get this really big board. I suspect that we'll be able to just win the game on turn 7 with the champion strength. This guy deserves to lose anyways. Is he playing the stupid Shellfolk deck? I hate it so much, man. I hate it so much. Yep, he's losing. Well, I didn't see if that trinket trade came off the Conchologist or not. All right, big spider coming at you. We're going to be getting all the values off of this Undying. Not one value, not 2 values, all the values. What did he take? -2 attack on the Spirit Leech. Let's see, I feel you.
Lyrics just are coming to me. Time to find a muse.
Definitely playing the dumb deck. I hate this thing so much. How does it win? No idea. No idea. That's the sign of a good and fun and interesting deck. All right, so as we look to roll back into turn 7, we're going to need 2 mana, right? We need 2 mana banked up if we're going to be playing the champion strength. And so with that in mind, I think I want to try and get Kindred down now. There's a pretty decent chance that Kindred just gets popped by like an Aftershock this turn, or P&Z Telstones into Aftershock, whatever. But I would like to get Kindred down and ready to start interacting with this board, trying to wear the dudes away. Then as we go into the next turn, we can very easily fill this board back out. If we're going to Fading Icon, Wings in the Wave, that's 4 units, right? That gets us really close to having the full 6. And so that was a good turn, right? He didn't really get to develop anything. He had to spend 6 mana on the Kindred. Sounds like a win. All right, so he comes in with Bar. He's not adding anything for the turn. It's like, I see the spot, and it's like, we could just play a Neverglade Collector, right? But I think that that's probably a little greedy. Let's go ahead and take away one of his blockers. And then we'll have 3 mana left over after this. So we can add in the Fading Icon. We can add in the Wings and the Wave. Then be ready with our 6. Feels pretty good just spending a mana to drop a 0/1 unit on the board. That's what life's all about, right? Just getting those 0/1s down. All right, let's see how he responds, how many units he can kill. I would assume he's probably going to be able to kill 2 or 3. Oh my god, he's got 3 spells? 2 high notes. Oh boy. Well, that was pretty good for opponent. Not gonna lie, that was pretty good. But we're still in decent shape. He's gonna have to take a bunch of damage off of this Undying. And then we're gonna be back over to the spot to where the Neverglade Collector is going to start causing some chaos. He'll probably take this 8 hit off of the Undying. The Seraphine is right about to flip. I didn't watch those high notes, but I'm willing to suspect a handful of those high notes were actually Seraphines. And so one was Seraphine, one was a physical high note. And so probably didn't have more copies of her just hanging out. Do we still play Terosh for 10? I'm not entirely certain how these abilities work when it gets pranked up in cost. We run into this in Path of Champions. I think it makes it cheaper. I don't know. I don't know, man.
I made my own light stick.
All right, dude, that's fine. We're gonna drain that health right back. Alright, then we're probably a little bit farther away from lethal than we want to be. Fun draw with the Neverglade Collector, though. Come in and get some double drains this turn. Looks like we have the mana to play the Collector, Elise, and the Halberd if we want. I don't quite want to advertise that we're about to bring in this second Collector just yet. The Scar Grounds. Okay. Alright, let's see where that gets us. It's probably decent if opponent's out here digging. That was great.
Let's really bring it.
Let's boogie, Seraphine.
Sure, it's a classic. But have you heard the remix?
Alright, loads of fun going on right now. Can't wait to see what got randomly generated there.
Let's hear it.
All right, let's hear it. Seraphine wants to hear the music. Troll chant, sure. All right, let's see what else comes out of this. Just take 10 minutes to not do anything. That's the way life's meant to be. All right. He's got the protection on his unit. That's fine. He doesn't kill our butchers, so he gets to survive. So we should be able to turn this around at the start of the next turn. He does have the opportunities to, do stuff and potentially gain some health, but we have the potential for the blow ups. All right, kill an ally. Let's protect the collector. See if that's enough to dodge the little removals he's trying to drop down. And we got to get one more drain in. One little tick, one little point of damage. We should be good to go. All right, draw 100 cards. Did that do it for you? And Victor. All right. Rip or Reno, my friend. GG. And so yeah, that was a decent outing of the Neverglade Collector, right? As we, replaced Atrocity, that was what was kind of going through my head right there at the end. Was like, well, this would be a lot easier if we could just Atrocity like one of these sacrificial units at our opponent. But I mean, our dude was only like a 5/5 at that point, and so the Neverglade Collectors did quite a bit more work. But good stuff. If you're wondering why Mega Mogwai left the game, that deck. Exactly that deck. So dumb. I think I explained it perfectly. I know he put out a video on his reasons for leaving. He wasn't liking all of the card generation. I understand. I feel bad for people in his kind of position, because if you look at these people that play video games for a living, and you up and leave to play a different game, you lose like half of your following, and you lose like half of your paycheck. Like, all right, that's like a serious and losing point for them. I think that's why you see a lot of people in the lands of Hearthstone that still just play Hearthstone 8 and 10 years down the road. I don't feel like they have some kind of great devotion for Hearthstone. They just know if they just pick up and leave Hearthstone, even to go and play a established game like Magic, they're going to lose like 50, 75% of their following, and potentially not be able to make rent. And so, it's tough for them. I get it. It sucks to be kind of held hostage playing a game that you don't want to play. But that game was exactly why, at least in my recollection, my understanding of his video, was that with all of the card generation, the Seraphine deck's not really a deck, right? There's no like A, B, and C to it. There's no like do this to achieve that, do this to unlock this next feature. It's just put a bunch of stall onto the board and then see if you can't generate a way out of a game. Like it doesn't feel like a real and cohesive game plan. It's just see what you generate and hope it's good enough. I tell you, what we generated here is going to be good enough. Going to bring in the thunder with that Elise flip. You don't get to do it often, but we're certainly doing it here. And this is kind of an interesting and odd spot, in that this is a deck where Kindred's not particularly good, right? If you're coming out here and just flooding the board with portal units and everything, you tend to not care about them, just as long as you have 6 units on the board. But with the way opponents' draw has gone, with them having to invest early in that Inspired Light, this seems like a spot to where Kindred might get the job done for a while, and so I'm on board with that. All right, you take down Elise, that's fine. It's a huge investment from opponent. So we're not out of the woods yet. This is a deck that can certainly just go, LOL, here's a full board in Champion Strength. But you must admit that we've kind of jumped forward quite a bit in terms of board state and standing. Okay, so what we're hoping have happen here is if the Spiderling wins the combat, we get to kill both of his dudes. If he has something like a Ranger's Resolve, then we're at least going to get to kill one of them. Not quite ready to just throw Kindred into the face of the Greenglade Lookout, though. Okay. So the thing I'm looking towards, we have kind of like two options here, right? We can either go for a 4 Demacia next turn, which I'm kind of interested in, or we can look to play it a little bit slower and then follow up with the Greenglade Collector. Where this gets painful is if he has a like a Champion Strength to kind of counterspell that for Demacia. I guess it's not like the end of the world, right? It's not horrible if he's able to play it, but he doesn't have it now. Okay. Doesn't have it now. Sure. And 2 fresh dudes. Oh no, we may have just lost this one. He hits the Battlecaster off of it as well. Oof, that's scary, man. That's scary. Not even presenting a lethal here. Whew, all right, dude. All right. There's our Champion Strength. That's what we needed. I was about to say, to where this gets problematic is we could come in for the 4 Demacia. We make the scouts and everything, but it's not quite enough to come in and get. Oh, that was stupid. We we just came in and punted this one. This is a space to where we could have. Just put Neverglade Collector on the board and blocked a couple of units and been out of this mess, but little whoopsies. Little whoopsies. I think we're still okay, but that was a little ugly. A little ugly. All right, let's fix this. Let's see if we just threw this one away or not. You know why old FTP Bust isn't playing in the World Championships? It's games like this. Games like this. Yeah. Well, we still get to take down some board. That's kind of nice. Kind of nice. Takes him down to 1. And see what he, see what he follows up with in terms of hitting portals. And we do have the Champion Strength to try and get a rally kill next turn. So, you know what you got to do in these spaces, don't you? You got to squeeze them butt cheeks. It's very, very similar to what you do playing against Teemo. You gotta squeeze them hard, squeeze them tight. Hope that you can get everything pulled off before before the big boom comes in and hits.
Steady for me, like that.
What do you think, fam? Are you going to add a unit or are you going to attack? He adds a unit. All right. Are we getting signposted again? Okay, okay. Our units are big. That's good.
To the forge.
We will not hesitate.
Interesting. We do have 2 units that can't block, so we might die to a pokey stick here, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. Odin thinking on it hard, long, and fast. I get it. I understand. That's it. That's enough to do it. We have fallen short. GG. So that's a little whoopsies, you know. We could have we could have responded to his champion strength with the Neverglade Collector, blocked 3 units, and called it a day. But I got a little bit ahead of myself. It happens though. You learned. You got your learning moment for the day, and so it's all that matters to me. All right, next battle. So I did want to say down on the bottom left corner of the screen, it has that tracker on it for our weight loss thing for the year. It's gone good. You know, if you're newer to the channel and not familiar with that, this seems like a reasonable keep. We have the ways to kill action and some early plays, but yeah. So the kind of like life story over the past couple of years was quit smoking. That was the big one, and the often replacement for you know, sticking nicotine things in your mouth is sticking food in your mouth, and so there was that as a kind of major component of gaining a bunch of weight, and then there was also COVID hitting and not being able to go to the gym and stuff, and so I got up to like 260, like right at it or right below it, and I wasn't particularly happy with that. I usually bounce around like 215, 225, maybe a little over 225 now that I'm older, but something in that range, and just was not pleased with the state of my stomach, and so the way that I feel about New Year's resolutions is I feel like if you want to, you know, make a positive improvement, a positive impact on your life, then just go ahead and do it now. You know, there's no reason to wait until January 1st. You know, if you want to make yourself better, just get out there and, you know, make yourself better. And so that's why it's a little bit before the end of the year. But I think I'm kind of done with tracking it. You know, we're about to get to the holiday season. I'm going to start smashing all those nice holiday goods and stuff, and I'm not going to you know, kind of deprive myself of that, if you will. And so I'm pretty happy with how it's gone. You know, I haven't done any of the calorie tracking. I haven't been trying to min max, just kind of making a concerted effort to not eat a lot of garbage and go from there. And so what's it at? Just under 14 pounds. I'm pretty content and happy with it. And so, you know, that's where that stands. You know, I did mention in the previous video that for the next year, I don't really want to call it a New Year's resolution. That doesn't really feel like that kind of thing. But over the next year, I do intend to make more of a concerted effort to play in Runeterra tournaments. And so looking to do one a month. My kind of struggle and problem is I just don't have the time to come in and try and fit in 12 hours, or not so much 12 hours a day, but 6, 8, 10 hours a day to play in a full single day Legends of Runeterra tournament. And so I think I should be able to swing one a month. That doesn't sound like as big of a deal. And so that's my goal, is to get in one a month. Seasonals if it's a seasonals month, or a grassroots event if it's not a seasonals month. And we're getting started with that this month. We're looking to play in a tournament this upcoming weekend, and so it's been good. The big thing for me as well as kind of like dropping dropping the weight over the past year has been I kept my bench press, right? It's really tough thing to do to lose a bunch of weight and also maintain what you're able to lift at the gym. And I was able to maintain my my 100 kilo, my 225 bench press for all of that weight loss across the year, and so that was cool. Go me, you know. The if you're a fellow gym bro, that that 2 plate bench is what makes you feel like a superstar, and so I was glad to not lose out on it. All right, though. Back to the game here, back to the action against old action. I thought that we might get away with the Vile Feast there. I wasn't entirely certain if opponent was going to be dropping dropping combat tricks on us. It's tough for them to do. This deck, at least when we played it, didn't really play Shape Stone. It was really just the cultist one. And I kind of felt like after he played the equipment onto action that he may not have it. You know, that's kind of a somewhat protective measure, dropping that equipment, but he had it. It's okay. We can still try and fight our way through this one. My choice in Varus over action is that Varus has the actual potential to OTK us this turn, to where action's just going to get a valuable combat. And so the Varus is the one I did want to take down. He should be, you know, far enough away from it that we don't have to completely worry about it, but that is the main concern on this turn, is that this Varus gets flipped and hits for like 16 or so and causes us a real problem. But seems like we're okay. All right, opponent out here doing stuff though. I was gonna say, I'd feel kind of nice if he missed on the Bakai. I would really like to come in and get that unit removed from the board. So we're gonna be Vile Feasting it. Let's bring in the Wings in the Wave. Should stop the cultist from getting into combat here. Ugh. Gross. Well, that didn't go as planned. Let's switch to just using the Glimpse Beyond. Now that he's added 2 units and he's getting 2 free hits on our units this turn, we're not going to have the whip to be lethal next turn. So let's go for a Glimpse Beyond. See if we can't find something magical off at the top. Nope. Not magical, bro. Not magical. All right. Well, this is going to be becoming a Kindred board now. I think we have to Cursed Keeper. Then we can load up a Spiderling with the Halberd. Like some of the kind of like potential for positives here are going to be anyway, kill this guy to equip an ally. His units all have small health, and so he may not be able to survive a lot of these attacks. The downside here is with our Kindred, we don't have the mana to both Kindred and Vile Feast. Ideally, what we would be pulling off here is we're going to have Kindred come down after combat. So it's like we attack, he blocks with a couple of these crappy dudes, and then we potentially get a way to kill something post-combat, but doesn't seem ultra likely. Yeah, just make some sad noises. Sad noises, everybody. You got my back out there? Are you making sad noises with me on this one? I appreciate it if you are. But see, this is what I was, kind of hoping we could pull off. You get to come in, kill a couple of dudes. We could now, say, play Kindred, Vile Feast, our Spiderling, and kill off another one of his real units. But we're a little bit, he killed our Kindred, so we can't do that anymore. But, if he doesn't get the kill this turn, then we have another reasonable shot at the next round. Okay, he didn't present the lethal, and this deck shouldn't have a way to deal another point of damage to our face. So I'm just going to avoid the blocks there, see if we can't get a full board and get this lethal coming in. Ooh, a little bit of champion strength. Don't mind if I do. And so this is kind of like that situation from a game or two ago, in that we can open, try and present the lethal, and then come back in after the fact and then see if we can't close it out with the champion strength. We can get 2 more units on the board. I think I'm okay with this. He's got 3 blockers. If he blocks our 3 biggest to the right, he's looking to take lethal. This is 7 coming at him. He's going to need an additional spell to kind of continue on through here.
There is no forgiveness.
Okay. He's not trying to kill our Undying at the moment, so we will get to attack with it again. That's pretty cool if you ask me. Did you ask? Did you bring that questionology forth? Cool if we get this thing off of the screen. Would be cool. A little card back. It's kind of a scary card back too, man. I don't know who that is, but she's got a bunch of spiky shoulder pads on, like the Legion of Doom. Do you all know who the Legion of Doom is? That was a wrestling group, a tag team, and they came out with these big like shoulder pads from football with spikes coming out of them. And I think they did this. No, that was the Bushwhackers that did that. This is some of that classic 90s WWF wrestling stuff for you. All right, though. Let's see if we can't take this in with strike number 2. Can have Rite of Negation here. Another Frostbite thing shouldn't be enough, right? We only need to deal 2 damage here. We have 5 dudes ready to bring the thunder, and so let's see what we can do. See if that post-combat champion strength is enough to get him done. All right, he's got a thing. Only 2 blockers, though. I think we did it, Fam Jam. Neg 4 into 2. That's what I like to see. Boom. Mark it a W for bust. World's foremost and strongest champion strength player, except for the ones that are better than me. That's always a way to rank yourself, right? Number 1 in the world, if you exclude everyone that's better than you. Got it. Nailed it. All right, this stupid deck again. I hope this doesn't become a thing. I really don't like I really don't like the Seraphine decks, but we'll see what we can do. Drew our champion strength will be ready for turn 7. I hope you're ready. I'm ready. This is one of the things I didn't mention, but is worth noting, is the Elise flip, the Crawling Sensations, tends to be one of the worst flip cards in the game, right? You almost never want to be making usage out of that card, but now that we're out here with the champion's strength and we're trying to get these 6 wide boards, it is something that can be extremely relevant. And so I think it's worth noting that I think it's worth noting that the crawling sensation isn't as completely dead in this as it is in some of the other formats. All right, pick up a couple of cards. Get ready with some Kindred. Not bad, not bad. That Kindred Wings in the Wave lets us have a lot of potential just to kill whatever opponent does next turn. If he drops a Victor, we're gonna just fucking boom him. I don't know how you like to spend your afternoons, but I prefer to spend mine fucking booming them. Gets you all that hard-hitting gameplay knowledge you need to get through the day. Really? Is this going to be an Electro Harpoon onto Kindred and then a Pokey Stick? I mean, I'm pretty sure I'm okay with that.
Fellow students, watch my technique.
F is this thing? He doesn't have the mana to pull all of that off anymore. I'm not entirely certain how this interaction works, so I'm just going to drop the Quietus. I think since opponent is the active player, right, they have the attack token, that their end of turn effects should happen first. And so if he was going to put his cloud thing on the board, we do some stuff to try and get the Kindred thing lands, and then he sends the unit back to hand. Like, I think since he's the active player, his end of turn stuff happens before ours, so the recall happens before the Kindred pop happens. And not 100% certain about that, but I'm pretty sure that that's how it works. So he would have had a way to kind of counterspell that Kindred ability if he wanted to. Shit, I did not want to play that one. I meant to play the 3/3 and then take down the Aristocrat. Well, whoopsies. Now we miss out on a spider on this attack as well. Quite relevant given that we're about to flip our Elise. I forget how this happens. We get the thing, but then the spiderling dies at the end. I think that might be how it goes. Looks like he's going to have a removal spell, so we won't lose that on our unit count anyways, but I think that's how it happens. All of our units try to come back to the bench left or right. So Elise comes down, Spiderling comes down, Butcher comes down, Spiderling comes down. Your bench has 6, and then another one can't come down. I think that's the way it works. All right. Nice little board clear from opponent.
So much to do.
Kindred. Cool.
Never one.
Without the other.
All right, I'm ready now. Let's boom him. Okay. Sad day. He's gonna have it all on the removal today. We gotta pick up something. This would have been much nicer if we'd played the correct if we'd played the 3/3 instead of the 2 0/1s and we had the extra unit on the board. But let's see what we can do. He says, "Uh-oh. He's coming at me for not lethals. He must be serious right now." Okay.
Light, stage, amp.
GG.
All right, let's jam.
So I'm not certain we would have been able to close that game out, but it would have certainly been much better if we still had our dude, if we could have gotten the 3 damage in on the previous combat and then still had a unit on board there for potential champion strength that could have translated into a unit for the next turn. That's on me for the misclick. I'm really just proud of myself in this video that I haven't done the wrong half of the Darken Halberd. I have a real serious issue with killing the unit that I intend to equip. I think I finally kind of like drilled it into my head, which is the proper order to do it in, but I most certainly am a master of a master of sacrificing off the wrong unit. All right, reasonable enough start here, though. We got the champion strength for turn 6 this time, right? We're on the even attacks. We have the quietest to hopefully shut down any Seraphine-related early shenanigans. Lots of go wide units here. I dig it. I'm on board.
Come closer. I don't bite. You won't suffer long.
You won't suffer long, bro. The Zack Attack 000. I believe, I might be wrong on this, but did you all ever watch the 90s television show Saved by the Bell? It was a classic piece of 90s early television. If you're my age, if you're in your mid to late 30s, you most certainly watched it. But I believe the name of Zach Morris's band was the Zack Attack. I could be wrong on that, but pretty sure that was the name of his band. All right, didn't want to get too crazy on this board. I didn't want to get in the spot to where it's like if we start adding fading icons and stuff, he still has really good blocks with the junk construct. I would prefer to just be in the place to where we're able to remove it with the Spiderling, let him play that value game just a little bit, and still save the Quietus for a Seraphine or for a Nora. So as this board stands, right, if we want to play the champion strength next turn, we need to bank 2 mana. We can still spend 3 mana on stuff, which, you know, we can pull off here, but do we want to worry about the AoEs? And I'm going to say, no thank you. I'm going to drop the fading icon. I'm going to drop the 2 units from the wings and the wave, and I'm going to just go all in for the champion strength next turn. I don't think we're in real danger of getting lethaled, even if this champion strength play fails. So it's going to suck if he's got that AoE, but the thing that I always love about aggro decks and what I love about being in a spot like this is that we are the one asking the question, right? This is the kind of the way to think about this in old school Magic terms and in terms of control decks is if you're asking the question, right? We're forcing the opponent to have an answer to this, which looks like they have some degree of an answer with the 3 separate cards that they just dropped on the board. But you know, if they don't have Jesus, what a set of hits. If they don't have the AoE or a big bunch of removal like you just did here, then they're just going to outright lose the game. But this is still a pretty decent spot for us to be in, right? I mean, we're going to do some serious damage. We're going to kill off some of these units. We still have Vile Feasts for these 1 health bros he's got hanging out in the back line. Like, his 3 removal spells, well, you know, kind of painful. Not really enough to just end it. Right, reasonable recovery we just had here. Champion strength number 2 hanging in the back lines. Neverglade Collector here to do her thing as well. I like it. I like it. The Zack Attack featuring AC Slater. Oh, Mario Lopez. I hope all those guys are doing okay. I feel like
Well, maybe.
the guy that played Screech, what was his name? I don't know. He started doing stand up. I feel like he had a bad go at it for a while with drugs, but the rest of the rest of the squad from Saved by the Bell turned out okay. Let's see. I feel like we got to get some more dudes on the board at the current moment. You shouldn't have too many answers to Neverglade Collector. Like, he can come at us with like a Thermogenic Beam, but I think that's okay. He can come at us with a Hex Obliterator, which is just an absolute ton of mana. I think that's pretty okay as well. I think that that's all fine. Him picking up a Vile Feast would be pretty good for himself, but yeah. I think we're still making some magic happen here. Let's actually cancel that. Keeps him from getting the drain, keeps him from getting the extra blocker. We get our drain and still. Oh, Fam Jam. What a collection of draws. Starting to look better and better. See, this Neverglade Collector's doing all kinds of things that Atrocity would just completely fail at. So, I dig it. Seraphine gets a flip, but he's only got 4 mana. Oh, snap. Catalyst of the Aeon's coming in. I guess we should have known to play around that one. Alright, let's see if we can't get her off of the board. No more of that dumb stuff.
I did my best.
Kill an ally. Boom. GG. All right, not bad, not bad. Good set of games so far. We'll get one more in, one more on that path to the champions, the path to the top. One more final battle for the Shadow Isles Champion Strength deck. What you got for us, opponent? Aatrox Vein. You got it. Let's see. We'll hang on to the Elise. This isn't the kind of matchup to where I want to hang on to Champion Strength. We kind of need to maximize our early game stuff here. So I'll get rid of the Champion Strength. We can't play it until turn 7. The Vile Feast is kind of an interesting one. I don't think it kills anything here. We can't use it in the sense that, you know, if he gets a block, then he's going to be able to get out in front of it. You know, maybe we have, like, if he blocks, he'll have a 1 health unit, but I don't think there's a lot of scenarios that involve him having units that Vile Feast kills as he drops a Fleet Feather Tracker. I think, is the Tracker the only one, though? Whenever I think of these decks, I immediately think of the 1-drop that gets tough, and then the 5 mana tough, what's he called? A 5 mana tough scout thing, but not quite in the middle.
There's nothing to fear.
Nothing to fear, bruh.
Your hurry.
I get that Elise block in. Take this down as much health as we can. Anything that can block her next turn is going to kill her anyways.
Those who kill innocents are no more than fiends. Spit her out.
All right, here comes the squad.
Say your prayers.
What you got now, my friend? We're having a good time. I love it. I love it. We're having a good time. It was a good stand-up. There's been some good ones on the stand-ups. I think it was a new season. I think it was a 2022 season. Everybody's talking about lockdowns and COVID being over, so it was probably recorded last year. I think it might have been recorded in 2021. I don't know how that stuff goes. I went to a comedy show this year, I think, So that's how my memory works. I think it was this year, but I went and saw Bert Kreischer. It was good. It was a good show. That was an interesting thing. Like I didn't know that the show existed. I didn't like follow. Oh, that's such a good bird. See if he has another unit. I didn't follow along with his like tour or anything. I just saw like a random advertisement for it, and the advertisements are so like useless in the sense that the show was coming up like a month away, but tickets went on sale like 3 months ago, and so it's just like nobody has tickets at that point. You're just getting them off of the resellers. And so I went to see whatever reseller was out there at the moment, and there were like I was willing to pay like $100 a ticket. I felt that that was like a reasonable max, and the only seats in that price range were in the actual nosebleed, the actual last row of the theater, where the tickets in that price range were. They weren't like $100. I think they were only like 40 or 50 at that point. But we got them. It was like, well, you know, if you're going to a comedy show, it's probably not super critical to be like right in the front. If the dude's kind of blurry because you're in the very very back of the theater, then you know it's not the end of the world. And yeah, it was a good show, but you know there were no masks or anything, so it had to have been this year. So I think the stand-ups was probably somewhere within that time frame. But here, we just got a little bit of a luck. This is a problem. I was really worried that we were going to get hit by this Valor with the equipment on it, but he moves the equipment onto the Petricite Broadwing. I feel like that was a bit of a win for us. I think what we needed to do was opponent plays Valor, we hit Valor with the thing, you know, whatever it's called. And then from that point, we look to from that point, we look to get into combat afterwards. But now that we're here, I don't think we have to worry about a catch. Catch would be the card that's going to cause us a problem in this space, and so I'm going to add the Neverglade Collector. If he has a way to give the Petricite Broadwing bonus health, we're going to lose. But if we get to come out here and do shenanigans with our Neverglade Collector, then we might be in an okay space. And so let's take some of these drains. I wish we could glimpse beyond out of this Aatrox in the middle of combat, but can't have everything all the time, I guess. As long as the Aatrox isn't flipped, we can kind of deal with this, right? We can limit his strikes with the glimpse beyond. If he flips and tumbles, then we're gonna start to struggle. Interesting. I guess he gains 2 health off of this. That's his big concern at the moment is dying. I guess he is kind of in a don't lose and you'll win kind of space, as he has the bigger board than us. He has the World Ender, the Aatrox, the equipments and everything, and so that probably does make a bit of sense. As long as he just doesn't die on our upcoming turn, then he'll probably win the game.
I pull the strings.
All right, well, Elise gets us the most units on the board. Kind of feel like we can attack with Elise. We can attack with the Vanguard Sergeant. This will give us the 5 attackers. We can put a Glimpse Beyond in front of whatever Aatrox gets in front of and see where that gets us. And so we'll have the full 6 attackers without a Neverglade Collector getting in the mix. We'll have a Wings in the Wave in the back line to potentially give us 1 extra point of damage. Let's see. Let's see how it goes. I'll be happy if we just kill off a bunch of this stuff, right? I mean, he probably has to block with his Broadwing. We should be able to wear this down to just like a unit or 2.
Very well.
Here's where we're going to get him. Here's where we're going to get him, right? We're going to sacrifice the Undying so he doesn't get the Aatrox strike. That's where the lethal comes in. Uh-oh, he's got a card. F. Oh, double F. We've been boomed. We've been bested. All right. I don't know how we get out of this one now. That's not going to do it. All right, GG. Whew, good set of games though. Good set of games. And so again, it's an interesting take on the champion strength deck. We have a lot of summons in here with the Elises. We have a lot of summons with the go wide stuff and the fading icons and the wings and the wave. And so you have a lot of potential to get that completely full board. And we got to show in some of those games as well, just having the 0/1s on the board is often enough in terms of champion strength to give you that edge in taking down the game, right? Just turns out a bunch of 4-5 scout units are probably enough to just come out and win for you. And so there's lots of power there. I'm not like sold on this being the strongest version of the deck. As we do kind of like approach this tournament we want to play, I think the idea is probably just to come out and ban Vayne, and then still bring decks like this to the equation. But that gets me in the spot to where you can start to just play things like Scouts, right? As I like to play decks like Scouts, they tend to get smoked by Vayne. That's what we tended to lose to here. And so I'm curious if that doesn't get this one in kind of like a better spot in terms of you're able to just kind of deal with the decks like Jinx Draven because you have so much width in the early game. And then as you're playing against decks like Seraphine, they just give you the time to potentially get the champion strength down. They don't have a lot of ways to stop it other than having a bunch of removal chains on your big turn. And then you just take out that kind of mid-rangey deck that really causes you problems. And so, there's some potential there, but I think that this deck is probably pretty low down the curve in terms of being the better champion strength decks. And so I think that there's probably like a real argument for the format, at least the format right now. If the kind of like tier 0 deck or, the top echelon, the S tier decks of the format, there's usually, 2 or 3. I don't feel like those have really quite developed, but I feel like every single champion strength deck is probably at least a tier 1.5 deck in this format. And so, I certainly don't think that these are like fringe decks. I don't think this is a tier 2 deck. I think that this is a deck that you could most certainly put in a lineup and feel pretty good about taking it to a tournament. I just feel like that there's kind of better angles to go about this. I think you need a better reason to be playing Shadow Isles. And so, you can come up with a lot of good reasons to play Shadow Isles, right? You can get access to Vengeance, you can get access to all of the removal spells, you can get access to Quietus. You have a lot of really powerful things. I just don't think those things are better than what you can currently be doing in the format. And so, it's a good deck. It's an interesting concept. It's definitely not bad. You can definitely climb the ladder with it. You can definitely have success with this, but I don't think it's the best champion strength deck. But being a champion strength deck does put it pretty far ahead of pretty much 90% of the rest of the format. And so, good stuff. I had fun with that. I hope you did too, because that is going to do it for us today. And so I hope everyone enjoys the video. Hope you maybe learned a thing or two along the way and had a good time watching. This is Bust, and we thank you for being here.